On September 4th of 2020, I uploaded a video to this channel entitled, "Please Don't Call Kyle Rittenhouse a Hero." This was done as part of my Weebo Hot Takes series, wherein I take a controversial topic and I argue a point that my audience might not agree with, discussing a nuanced position I hold that might not be popular. In this video, I talked about my displeasure with the right hailing Kyle Rittenhouse for being a hero. What I can't get behind is the idea of purporting a 17-year-old kid as brave for joining a modern-day militia, essentially. A 17-year-old should get the fuck out of Dodge the moment that a riot hits, not find out what happens when you point the business end of an AR at a person and pull the bang switch. I want to emphasize, I was displeased with the notion of the right hailing Kyle Rittenhouse for being a hero. Not that him defending his community wasn't heroic on its own, and not that he was wrong for defending himself against aggressors that he found himself at odds with during the riots. Although, defending yourself doesn't necessarily make you a hero. I am of that opinion. My issue was with propping him up as a hero. This concept of purporting him as a hero, like everything that happened with Kyle on that day, the worst day of his life, wasn't an absolute tragedy. Martyring him for the good of the politic is at best irresponsible and at worst reprehensible, because he's a kid, and to be honest, if we're being truly honest with ourselves, he still is. So flash forward to this month, November 2021, and the trial to determine if Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty of murder or not is well underway. Day 8 of the trial, and the defense has Kyle take the stand, probably against everyone's better judgment.
3 people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what I run.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any kind of trial.
To have him relive and relive and relive that horrible night under both defense questioning and prosecution questioning. The predominant argument that I made in that video, that I made back in September of 2020, was with concern to Kyle's mental health from having killed people. That he will never be the same person he was before that night. That at such a young age, the shroud of innocence that we all have had at one point in our lifetime had been quite violently ripped from him that August 25th, 2020. The worst day of his life. That video is one of my most disliked videos on my channel, and in fact was the beginning of a slew of unsubs from this channel that still is felt to this day, because my opinion on the matter was disagreed with by my audience, misunderstood by people, flat out misconstrued in some cases, and blatantly ignored because I think people just read the title and that was that. They were an audience that didn't want to hear anything about Kyle other than complete and utter affirmation that he was, in fact, a hero. This video that I'm filming right here is me not just doubling down on my position, but additionally, it's serving to further my argument. And doubly acting as a response to my detractors. I did receive a few oddball comments that I won't really grace with a full-on attempt at a rebuttal, as they are related to my gender, which ironically enough was actually an asset to some of the members of my audience on certain topics. One, of course, I agreed with them, and then some not so amusing comments for my opinions were had in the chat as well. If I see you during the Civil War, you will go against the wall as a subversive sympathizer. Is that a threat, friend? It's a promise, and one protected by Supreme Court rulings. Always kill a traitor before an enemy. Interesting. That I, as a person who wishes to protect the innocence of kids, go against the wall before that of the enemy, who has no problems killing those very same kids. Cool. Then there are claims of my infantilization of Kyle, and a lot of disagreement focused on Kyle's age at the time. And while it is a tenuous subject for a multitude of reasons, if we are being truly honest with ourselves, the child to adult maturation pipeline looks a lot less like a straight line at the age of 18 and has much more variance in slope than your average, say, high school algebra class. Some kids mature faster, obviously, some slower. Some regress in some cases, and for whatever reason, some are really early bloomers. Not necessarily because that's who they are, but rather because it's who they were forced to be. An adult at the age of, take your pick. And that's my whole point. There is a right way for a kid to mature to adulthood, and there are some wrong ways, no doubt. But I will die on the hill that maturation through trauma is in all cases the absolute wrong way to go about doing it. I don't care if it's for the greater good if he's 1 year away from dying for his country in the military. As this commentator so bluntly put it, your youth is pivotal to your development in shaping who you will be fundamentally as you continue to age. And those experiences being some of the most impactful on your development, those adolescent memories. If you kill someone early on in your development, it is an objective fact that it will have a significant impact on you going forward. Comment from Evil Means Meta. 1. Kids can be heroes. Someone acknowledging a kid's heroism isn't political. Sure, I'm not disagreeing that kids can be heroes, but I am disagreeing with the concept of encouraging them to put themselves in dangerous situations in order to achieve that end, that goal. All the examples of the kids that I gave in that video were of kids being shunted into political narratives, either intentionally or not. And either way you dice it, the atmosphere of the summer riots of 2020 are political through and through. The aftermath of the covering of Kyle Rittenhouse's circumstances and trial are political, too. Kids can like their president. Straw man. I never made an argument to the contrary, in fact. So, I don't know where you got that. 3. 17 years old is barely a kid. Okay, you know what? Let's say, for the sake of this line of argumentation, the line for adulthood is flexible per kid. Okay? Let's allow for it. 17. Pfft, that's almost 18. 14-year-olds lied about their age to fight in the Second World War and even the Civil War, so we should just let it happen. Let it happen. 14-year-olds know best, right? Because precedent. Because history. Because we might as well. I mean, we're killing people anyway. What's a bunch of barely prepubescent kids on the altar of war? Just a few more. It's not a big deal. Congratulations. Because you've just made an Ambler's argument for them. Are you prepared to deal with the implications of making the argument that age is just a number when pedophiles are out there dropping that same exact fucking argument? And then the military/militia arguments. No disrespect to our troops fighting for our freedoms overseas. But can we stop pretending that going to war overseas, or domestically for that matter, isn't the culmination of atrocious failures by the part of the powers that be? Say it with me. War is the tragic conclusion brought by a summation of failures. I don't think we should be encouraging for that. That should not be the end goal. That is not the highlight reel, okay? I don't want that for our youth. I don't. I want a generation of kids who don't know what it means to go to war, who don't know what it means to find their friend half blown to smithereens because a bomb went off, to find out that another one of their friends has killed themselves today because of the trauma that they experienced overseas. I don't want that. And if you want that for our youth, then we're going to have a fundamental disagreement, friend. Sorry. Then from Dylan Carr we have this. This girl is dumb as hell. Marxism at its finest is why men run the world, because we win wars when it comes down to it. And bullets start flying, all this crybaby Marxist mumble jumble is thrown to the side. Wonderful. Because I don't want to send kids to the front line of the culture war. That makes me a Marxist. I love it. Do you even history, bro? I implore you, approach a veteran. One who has lost a friend to insurgents or seen them blow to bits, who's been crippled for life, fighting overseas for your freedoms, and now walks with a prosthetic leg, who has killed an 11-year-old in Istanbul or some backwater Middle Eastern country radicalized by terrorists who would have killed you otherwise, who's had brothers in arms come back from overseas and had their lives not continue the way that they would have otherwise because of their newfound inability to reacclimate to life stateside. Ask them if they would wish that upon a 17-year-old from the burbs, who doesn't have his license, who has never killed anyone before, who's never even touched basic training in his life. Because, well, Weebo! He's basically one 9/11 attack away from being shipped over there anyway, so it's not a big deal, right? Listen, Kenosha was not the Middle East. I'll grant. By any stretch of the imagination. I'll concede. But if your argument is kids go off to fight in the war every day, that doesn't make it right to encourage it. You can miss me with that. We're gonna have a disagreement, sir. Apparently I was promoting cowardice with my video too, it seems. He absolutely is a hero. Your reasoning is promoting cowardness. You acknowledge defending communities when government isn't sufficient, it's justified, but don't actually want people to do it. 17 is not the same as a preteen. Most of the Americans who fought Nazis on Normandy were 18 to 20. Standards should go up, not down. Don't burn communities and businesses and militias won't form. Simple equation. 17 is the same age Antifa recruits from. We don't get to choose how the game is played because we've actively abdicated that power with attitudes like yours. I am done being the punching bag party. They loot, they burn, they mug, they attack, they beat. They impinge us and we do nothing. But the moral high ground you're so desperate to cling on to has no value. It is an excuse not to take action. And people who refuse to take action are cowards. Kyle isn't a coward. He's a hero. And being a hero is burdensome. You should all be just a little more like Kyle. And you know what? By all means, go out and be like Kyle. Go out and do it. Go out and counter-protest. Go out and put out fires. Go out and be a medic for people who need medical attention in the middle of these riots. Okay? Do it. Protect your communities from rioters. Be a hero. Take on that burden. But don't make a 17-year-old do it. If you're done being a punching bag, if you think that you can help your cause, I will not stop you. I will gladly help you in the bucket lines, donating blood to the critically injured, boarding up buildings to protect from looters right alongside you. I will fill bullets with all of the gunpowder. I'll even pee to make the ammonium. I think that's what goes into bullet gunpowder. I'm not sure. But I will not concede it is cowardice to argue we shouldn't be encouraging kids to take up those burdens on our behalf. Holy fuck. I would even posit that letting someone who might not fully grasp the consequences of that kind of a risk, letting them take that on for you in your stead is one of the greatest acts of cowardice, sir. And I will die on that hill too. You will never have regrets for having killed those violent pedophiles and felons. Your argument is baseless. Killing people intentionally is one thing, morally reprehensible. Killing people who tried to hurt you is not, and does not leave you with regrets. Quite the opposite. It makes you stronger and better having learned that you are capable of defending yourself against a violent mob made up of thugs, pedophiles, felons, and the like, whose sole intent is to destroy businesses, cars, buildings, and make life miserable. Kyle is celebrated and will be celebrated for years to come. He acted like a hero. He did not empty his magazine on the people around, but limit himself to retreat and defend himself. A real hero. No regrets, lads. You hear that? Absolutely none whatsoever. Ignore all of my baseless evidence to the contrary, though.
People right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
Jose has things and such to say on the matter. And he said them. And then, of course, there were the more level-headed of people, I think, from Jim Beam. While I understand your perspective on this video, you have the mindset of people that want to keep young persons' children beyond necessity. I've heard numerous stories of 21-year-olds that mess up and older adults try to make the excuse that they were a kid and made a mistake. At what age would it have been appropriate for him to be in that situation? 25, when his brain has fully developed? Was he trying to be a hero? From the video I've seen, I didn't get that impression. Will shooting and killing mess with him mentally? Maybe, maybe not. The way he handled himself out there showed a lot of maturity in a 17-year-old. Now, if the court system doesn't screw him over, I think he may turn out okay. We're not talking about coddling a 22-year-old that got knocked up, or drunk one night and regrets having sex, or accidentally forgot to pay their credit card bill and now is overdraft several $1,000s. We're talking about a 17-year-old that was placed in an unfortunate circumstance that meant that he had to take someone's life. And frankly, there is no age where I feel you could ever be actually adequately prepared to take a life, much less at such a young one. And as you said, that 17-year-old, now 18-year-old, is being faced with a legal battle for his life. That will determine the course of the entirety of his existence going forward. That's heavy. That's super fucking heavy. It's not just, oh, we'll have a kid for 18 years. No, it's killing a person. You carry it with you forever, regardless of if you get off in court or not. He was martyred at 17, and we should not be glorifying what is an abject tragedy for the loss of who this boy could have been had his reputation not been marred by the events of that night. And not only will Kyle have to live with the knowledge that he killed people, felon or otherwise, but the backlash and the vitriol towards a teenager from the other side is just as reprehensible as the glorification from the conservative side. And they go hand in hand, folks, because of course they will. The left will always attack your martyrs, because that's what they do, because they're punching bags that you can hide behind. In the aftermath of the night, we hear reports of Kyle puking, of Kyle crying, and worrying about social media fallout, as verified by Antioch police when he turned himself in. And finally, this last week begins the trial for his life. Kyle breaks down on the stand as he relives the attacks he narrowly escaped that night. And we, the passive, unaffected, uninvolved observer of these circumstances, have been graced with some of the best of humanity in response. That was sarcasm, by the way. We have all kinds of lovely commentary coming from the guilty side of the aisle on this matter. They want to lock up Kyle Rittenhouse and throw away the key. Kyle has been accused of hurting animals in his youth and is now apparently a noted racist killer somehow. He's a white supremacist too, because of course we have to throw that one in there, and not to mention a cold-blooded killer. Since I brought up NABLA already, don't you tell me that you haven't been morally outraged yet over lefties joking about this literal teenager getting prison raped, because I call fucking bullshit on that nonsense. Yeah, I do. From Tara Dublin, and that's the same face Kyle Rittenhouse will make during his first time in the prison shower. Classy. Very classy, lady. And in the event that he isn't found guilty, he will probably have to look over his shoulder for a good long while, because there are already people who would see him dead if he is not sent to prison. I wouldn't wish this situation on my own worst enemy, much less an 18-year-old with the rest of his life ahead of him, no matter how heroic you think Kyle might be. And yes, helping your community, it's heroic. I've never disputed that. To address the angry gerbil in the comments section with the attention span of a toadstool and about a teaspoon's worth of comprehension, I never dispute that. That does not change the fact that Kyle will live the rest of his life as either the Kenosha killer or the Kenosha hero, depending on who's addressing him, constantly reminded of the worst day of his life by everyone, all of the time, reliving it again and again, over and over in his head. But it's okay, guys. He's a hero. It was all for the cause. Bye.